Hey, folks, it is Friday, May 17th, 2019. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, Vice President Joe Biden taking heat about the 1994 crime bill while he is trying to justify it. Senator Kamala Harris says it contributed to mass incarceration. Wait until you hear me play for what he had to say about it. But is he correct? Also, families' inability to pay for school lunches is becoming an increasing problem. We'll talk about Philando Castillo's mother, who did something about it in Minneapolis. A New York Police Department supervisor, actually a commander, called the death of Eric Garner, who was killed during an arrest for selling loose cigarettes, not a big deal, according to testimony at the departmental trial of the officer who killed Eric Garner. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser is not feeling Donald Trump's plans for the 4th of July celebration. The nation's capital, Trump wants to change the whole plans, and he's literally focused on all the minor details. Dude, don't you have bigger things to worry about than the pomp and circumstance of a 4th of July parade and fireworks show that they can do without you and have done without you? A middle school teacher in Minnesota is on leave for using the N-word with her students. Not a wise way to teach. Plus, in Orange County, California mom lets her daughter's bullies know, when you come for my daughter, you come for me. We might as well call that segment hashtag Team Whip That Ass. All that plus picking up trash while black and the author of the children's book, Hair Love. And today I gave the commencement speech to the folks, students at, of course, Bowie State University in Bowie, Maryland. We'll show you some of that as well. Folks, it is time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the fine. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. Yeah, it's Uncle Roro, y'all. Yeah, yeah, it's Roland Martin, yeah. Yeah, rolling with Roland now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
2016, Hillary Clinton got nailed big time by African-American social activists because of her super predators comment, which was in defense of the 1994 crime bill. All the people kept criticizing her and her husband, President Bill Clinton, who signed that into law. Yet during the campaign, I kept trying to tell people, why is it that y'all are ignoring the very guy who wrote the crime bill, Obama's then Vice President Joe Biden? It never came up, frankly, when Obama picked him to be his vice president. But now Joe Biden is running for president, and it is now getting some renewed attention. Well, one of the issues is that Joe Biden is also defending the 1994 crime bill. Now he's also taking some heat. So first off, we're going to show you this video do we have the video, folks, of Joe Biden actually defending the crime bill? All right, so we don't have that video. I'm going to try to find it on my iPad, but it really was a trip to hear Joe Biden. It was at an event where they were outside, and he was asked about it. Now, it's interesting because previously Joe Biden talked about it having an impact with regards to the crime bill. But then all of a sudden now he backtracked. Well, now he's out saying, hey, it had no issue. It did not have an impact on mass incarceration at all. And again, he knows this is going to be an issue. So therefore, he is now defending it. And so I'm trying to find that video while we are here. And so here is the video. I think I found it. I believe I found it, of Joe Biden speaking there. This is a short clip. I'm going to play a longer clip, but here's a short one.
Nationally beat the NRA. Because when we did the crime bill, everybody talks about the bad things. Let me tell you about the good thing in the crime bill. It's the one that had the assault weapons ban, a limited number of bullets in a clip. It made sure that cop killer bullets, Teflon bullets, weren't available any longer. It opened up the whole effort to make sure there's background checks for the first time in American history. Look, the Second Amendment exists But it doesn't say you can own any kind of weapon you want. It doesn't say everybody's entitled to one. I'm the only guy ever nationally beat the NRA.
All right, folks, introduce our panel. Joining us right now is Johanna LeBlanc, National Security and Foreign Affairs legal analyst. Also joining us is, of course, White House correspondent, Talk Media News Network, John Christopher Bua, and Barbara Arnwine, president, founder of Transformative Justice Coalition. I'm going to find this longer clip here, Barbara, in just a second, but I want to start with you because on this issue, again, you have Joe Biden who's talking about the crime bill, knowing full well it is going to be an issue. And the problem for him is that many people obviously have talked about it. In fact, I found the longer clip, so here we go. This is the 2-minute and 8-second clip, and that was so this is what Joe Biden, again, he was confronted on this very issue and was asked about it took place 3 days ago, and so here we go right here.
You're going to really repair a lot of the black and brown communities that have been ravaged by the war on drugs and mass incarceration. Specific policies that you're outlining for that.
That's a good essay question and a good question. Folks, let's get something straight. 92 out of every 100 prisoners behind the bars are in a state prison, not a federal prison. This idea that the crime bill generated mass incarceration, it did not generate mass incarceration. The only bill, that bill had $30 billion. $10 billion went to making sure there was that it was for prevention. That's what it was about. Secondly, the court, I made sure there was a setup in that law that said there were no more mandatories except 2 that I had to accept. One was that President Clinton wanted 3 strikes and you're out. It was part of this entire bill that included the Violence Against Women Act, included the gun control efforts, as well as included, anyway, I won't go, it's raining. But here's the deal. What happened is the mass incarceration occurred by the states setting mandatory sentences. What happened was, if you go back and look, the Black Caucus supported the bill. The reason why the Black Caucus supported the bill is because we made sure, I had a study done by my staff, and we found out, I remember, Judge, you and I talking about this. The fact of the matter is that the vast majority of people for a first-time offense, if they were black, they went to jail 3 times as long as of a white. For example, it used to be 0 to 13 years for robbery. We went into every major of the 10 circuit court districts. What were the sentences given to people who, if you're a white guy and you committed robbery the first time, you got, if memory serves me, between 1 and 3 years. If you're African American, got between 7 and 9 years. So we set up the same crime, same time for the same crime.
Barbara, your thoughts on, again, Joe Biden offering a vigorous defense of the 94 crime bill?
It's indefensible. The 1994 crime bill unquestionably helped to contribute to mass incarceration. Any position that doesn't acknowledge that is dishonest.
And in fact, Bill Clinton admitted
yes.
that in 2016 at the NAACP, it contributed to mass incarceration.
I was there when he did that. And it was very profound when he did that, because one thing that Joe Biden has a problem with, we saw this with the Anita Hill issue, and we're now seeing this again with the crime bill. And that is being honest and saying, I really messed up, and not having to be drugged after considerable heat and fire to saying the truth. And what bothers me about this one is that as president, he will have authority over more policy. I do think that if he can't be honest about the harm he's caused, then he cannot think that some of us will give him our votes.
John, here's the thing. This is one of those things, when the Anita Hill story came back up, when he went on The View, I came on this show and I said, Joe Biden, what the hell were you doing? What you should have said is, I own this.
Right.
I was the chair. I could have shut anything down. I didn't accept responsibility. The following couple of days later, he actually did that. Politicians don't want to admit where they're wrong. This is a bill that Senator Bernie Sanders voted for. but he also criticized it. He said he did not want to vote for it, but because it had issues dealing with violence against women and other measures in it, that's why he voted for it, which is why they put all those things together. But this is one of those deals where if you're Joe Biden, dude, you're not going to win on this one. This is one where you just simply say, here were the things that was good about it, but yes, do the same thing Bill Clinton did, because Bill Clinton learned the lesson. He sparred with a protester. He went back and forth. Hillary Clinton did.
Yes.
It's one of those things where in politics, guess what? You cut bait, and you go ahead and leave. If he tries to stand on this, it's going to be a problem for him with young African-American voters.
No way.
The question is,
what the hell should he do?
He should look in the mirror, and he should say, maybe what you feel is the right thing is not being perceived as the right thing. Because I don't believe that Joe Biden is anyway a bad person. I believe he really believes that he is not anything but a friend to the African American community. I think that's the problem. He doesn't think that he's done anything wrong.
But here's the deal, Johanna. This is not about who's a friend and who isn't.
Right.
This is about
because he wants to get elected.
No.
It's about accountability.
What this about is.
But if you don't believe it.
Yeah. No. But here's what it's about. Congress, the death of Lynn Bias.
Yeah.
Created these new laws dealing with crack cocaine, dealing with drugs, and Capitol Hill. Folks were just shocked and stunned at the #1 draft pick for the University of Maryland, drafted by the Boston Celtics, dies of a drug overdose, and they rushed into it. They did not talk to the experts to think about what were going to be the repercussions. Here you have an opportunity to say, we now see the result of passing bills and then what it led to. You can own up to a mistake. But if you keep trying to defend it, all you're going to do is piss folks off.
Yeah, Roland Martin, I couldn't agree with you and my co-panelist anymore on this subject. I think that studies and history tells us that this bill actually did increase incarceration rate for African Americans, in particular black men. And I think that, what Mr. Biden needs to do is essentially just to own up to it and say, you know what, I made a mistake. And as my co-panelist indicated, this is someone who is going to be in charge of foreign policies. Right. If you cannot own up to your mistake, and we get it, people evolve, right? And it's not necessarily an issue, I think, it's not an issue where Mr. Biden intentionally supported or introduced legislation that would have a disproportionate impact on the black community. I think that there is a part of him perhaps wanted to help, and in the implementation of the policy, it ended up being detrimental to the black community. So own it. Say, you know what? This policy has broken up families. It has truly damaged the black community. I'm sorry. What do we have to do moving forward? And be open to accept policy proposals from experts in the community, such as yourself.
Why Joe Biden fails on this, first of all, he is correct in the video that most of the prisoners in America are on the state level.
Absolutely.
And the crime bill was specific to federal. But here's where he makes the mistake, John. The crime bill provided economic incentives for states to change their sentencing guidelines. States look to the federal government to take a lead. Bill Clinton, Joe Biden said in the video, insisted on 3 strikes. Well, when the federal level said 3 strikes, the states then went, cool, 3 strikes. And again, the proof is in the pudding. In the actual budget, and again, a fact check was done on it. And the reality is that the crime bill offered grants for new prisons to states that impose truth in sentencing policies, which impose mandatory minimums. The mass incarceration, it exploded as a result of the mandatory minimums. And that's what Joe Biden has to own up to.
Well, Joe, own up to it. Because there's a lot of people in this country think that you are the only one out there who can defeat this president, Donald Trump. So get with it. Support your soul and your heart but understand that you have caused some pain and some real consternation within lots of communities in this country. Get with it, Joe.
And Barbara, and why he has to do that is because Trump is going to sit here, and even though he's going to sit here and tout, oh, I passed criminal justice reform, I signed the First Step Act, I corrected your problem. And that's what Biden has to recognize.
Yes, and the reality is that his platform better be loaded with repair, because the injury is not over. It's not as if somehow this was something that happened and it's over. We are still dealing with an age of mass incarceration. United States, 25% of all the world's incarcerated, 5% of the world's population. There's no excuse for this. $80 billion annually of federal money for federal prisons. I mean, all of this is just insane. What he has to do is to come out and recognize that the injury he caused is still ongoing, and he has to recognize and take responsibility for coming up with programs and policies that are going to reverse that.
And there's video, Barbara, there's video of Joe Biden from '94 talking about putting money in the bill to help states where state prisoners serve at least 85% of their time. Dude, that's mass incarceration.
Right.
That was forcing people to serve 85% of their time, as opposed to a judge saying, you know what, this person should only serve 20 or 30%. Joe, that's mass incarceration. So stop this game of saying that see, here's the game. This is the game. And in fact, I'm gonna play it again for y'all, because I need you to understand. And I keep telling y'all again how these games happen. Joe Biden wants to play the word game. This is what Joe Biden said. Listen, and then I'm gonna deconstruct.
Hi, my name's Catherine. So I'm gonna bring up the bad part of the crime bill that you sort of referenced. So I'm curious how you're going to really repair a lot of the Black and brown communities that have been ravaged by the war on drugs and mass incarceration, specific policies that you're outlining for that.
That's a good essay question and a good question. Folks, let's get something straight. 92 out of every 100 prisoners behind the bars are in a state prison, not a federal prison. This idea that the crime bill generated mass incarceration, it did not generate mass incarceration.
He says, didn't generate mass incarceration. Now, the prison population in America exploded beginning in 1970. So, it is correct that the 1994 crime bill did not create mass incarceration. It was Richard Nixon's, his tough on crime policies, also on the state level, coming out of the civil rights movement.
Strikes you out.
Don't miss that. Beginning in 1970. So you go forward in this 24-year period. Then you get to the 1994 crime bill. The 94 crime bill exacerbates what was already happening. And so again, this is a huge thing for Joe Biden. He wants to he doesn't want to trash it. All he has to do is to say the intentions that we had were this.
You were saying this earlier.
We did not realize it was going to cause this.
Yes.
Joe Biden can't get around that 85%.
And not only
he can't get around that.
And not only
If you were, hold on, let me if you were a state and the federal government says, we've got several $1 billion to help you pay for prisons.
That's right.
If you change your state laws to ensure that they serve 85% of their time, the state is going to say, wait a minute, if I can pick up me a $300 million grant from the federal government to help build this prison, damn right, change those laws. Y'all go to jail. You got to serve 85% of your time. And what did that do? That put people who were non-violent offenders in prison serving 85% because they were modeled on the federal level. That is what contributed to it. Bill Clinton's 3 strikes, California did that.
Absolutely.
Fill the prisons up. Then what happened? Prison overcrowding. They had to start releasing people. Why? Because of 3 strikes.
Still dealing
and
with
again, and 3 strikes was not even 3 murder strikes, 3 rape strikes, 3 armed robbery strikes. It literally was, if I had 2 strikes and I got arrested for stealing a piece of pound cake, that was my 3rd strike.
Right.
Biden has to stop and understand that that's a problem. And let me tell you something right now. He's going to get crushed in that first debate if he tries to do that. Final comments on that. Johanna first, and then John, and then Barbara.
And not only admitting the fact that, this policy has had detrimental impact on the black community, not only that, but also
Hold on.
providing
Latinos, white folks too.
Absolutely.
Let's be real clear.
Absolutely. But not only that, but also, proposing a comprehensive legislation to address some of the wrongs that have been done in the past as it relates to incarceration.
Absolutely.
You have to think about it. Families have been broken apart, right? You have children being raised by single parents because of Biden's policy, right? So I need to know what policies does Biden have in place to ensure that the issue of mass incarceration in America is properly addressed.
John.
I like that. I think it's a good question. And Mr. Former Vice President, hear that, because people are upset, rightfully so. And if you are the next president and you have a Congress that will support this kind of legislation, now is the time.
This problem of the crime bill is ongoing. Vera Institute just released last week a report on the growing mass incarceration of black women, and the total increase in the last number of years. Our communities have been destroyed by this bill. Nothing less than a full I apologize. I take responsibility, and I'm going to do everything in my power to repair it. Nothing short of that is acceptable.
Again, he's going to, if he does it, I doubt it. But if he does that again in front of a group of black folks, what's going to happen is he's going to get this. And I'm telling you, when they had that first debate in June, if Joe Biden comes up with that defense, he's going to get jumped on by every single person on that stage, especially Cory Booker, especially Kamala Harris, especially Elizabeth Warren. So, Joe, I'm just saying, you might be called straight shooter Joe. I wouldn't use that line because, hell, my niece would destroy you on that one. And I guarantee you the other candidates will as well. Folks, we'll talk about what is sick in this nation, is that how you can have Donald Trump and others tout this being the richest nation in the world and all of our vast resources, how we have the most powerful military in the world. So how in the hell do we have 75% of U.S. school districts reporting student meal debt? In Rhode Island, students who hadn't paid for lunches, they got cold meals until a company stepped in and actually paid for it. In New Hampshire, a lunchroom employee, y'all, was fired.
Ridiculous.
For allowing a student to take food and to pay the school back the next day. In Minnesota, one high school attempted to prevent students from attending the graduation ceremony if they had lunch debt. And Philando Castile's mother paid off the school lunch debt for students at Cooper New High School in New Hope, Minnesota. The money was donated last month on behalf of the Philando Castile Relief Foundation. It was around $8,000 or so. What is crazy, John, is we literally are talking about penalizing kids because of school lunch debt?
I am an adjunct professor here in Washington, have been for 11 years. I have students who have to work 3 jobs to pay off their meal plan.
Right.
These are not the elitist kids. These are hardworking kids. What I find abhorrent and really, really disgusting, and the root of all of this dumbing down of America, because the stupider you are, the more you will actually vote for Donald Trump, is that our Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos, brother of Eric Prince, and we all know what he's all about, never even had an education degree, and she has never taught a class of students in her life. This is a disgrace. This is where we're headed as a country, to shame students. I mean, many kids, as we all know, we travel around, we go all over the place, Roland. Sometimes it's the only meal that these young kids get, is this meal that they're getting in school.
How the hell, Johanna, literally, we're not gonna let you graduate because of school lunch debt?
It's disgrace.
And then in Rhode Island, oh, the hell with that, here's some cold food.
Oh, my goodness.
You know,
You can't think without food in your belly.
How callous is that?
When I read that story, it literally broke my heart because as someone who came from very humbling beginnings, I had to rely on food stamps to get through, you know, undergrad and such, and high school. And so I understand what it's like to not have money to eat, right? And when you cannot eat, when you don't have a proper meal, you can't focus, you can't think, right? You can't succeed in the classroom. And the fact that America is so rich, right? We have all the resources. This is not an issue about the country not having enough resources to feed these children. It's about people just don't care about poor people anymore in this country. Where's the humanity, right? I mean, these kids, we have the resources to ensure every child in America has a hot meal before class starts, right? And we're not doing that, and it's heartbreaking.
Well, it puts the lie to this. It really puts the lie to this whole mythology that we got this great economy, when in reality, hunger has gone up in this country. In reality, poverty has gone up in this country. In reality, the jobs, the quote unemployment, the jobs people are working aren't paying enough. Mm-hmm. That's why parents can't pay for their children to eat at school, because we're not giving them the quality jobs that pay them the kind of money that they can have the ability to feed their own families.
Yeah.
This is the tragedy of America. And when we, I just think that we got to really be very clear that this vulture capitalism economy that we live in right now is just siphoning off everybody's ability to succeed. So it's very, very, very important that we come up with other measures to, instead of punishing children, punishing the children, that we come up with other measures that allow people to eat, be fed, and to be able to go to school. Now, let me tell you, Roland, I was one of those kids, too, who had to hide out in the library during lunchtime because I didn't have the money to buy lunch. And I'm very, very lucky that I got through all of that. But it's wrong. It's wrong, and a lot of people don't.
And also, this is also a country that actually pays farmers not to grow food.
Right, isn't that something?
Right, that makes no sense whatsoever. All right, folks, let's go to New York, of course, where Danielle Pantaleo, the officer who killed Eric Garner, is facing a New York Police Department hearing. Here's what is stunning. A New York Police Department commander called the death of Eric Garner not a big deal, according to testimony at the trial of Pantaleo, who's the one who applied the deadly chokehold. Now, after Pantaleo choked Garner from behind and before three other officers tackled him, Sergeant Danon Samanoff told Lieutenant Christopher Brandon in a text message that Garner, quote, was most likely DOA. He has no pulse. That's according to evidence presented on Thursday. The Staten Island Advance and New York Times both reported, and that's when Lieutenant Brandon responded, not a big deal. We were effecting a lawful arrest. When the text messages were read out loud, the courtroom audience was stunned. First of all, I'm not stunned at all, Barbara, because the reality is there's a callous disregard for life. Officers also know that they're not going to get in trouble. They know that they're not going to be disciplined. Eric Garner was murdered 4 years ago, and it is now that Pantaleo is facing this hearing. He's not facing murder charges. He's not facing a trial. He literally is facing a hearing as to whether or not he should keep his job. It is a disciplinary hearing of the NYPD.
And the only person who was punished was the gentleman who took the video.
Who went to prison.
Went to prison. Who took the video of the killing of Eric Garner. To Glenn Carr and all the family members, I am so sorry that you're having to go through this, because this is just wrong. The bottom line is that Black Lives Matter. Say her name when you talk about the black women who have been killed by police. The bottom line is that when we read no big deal, that's why we say Black Lives Matters. That's why we have to, fight for accountability by the police. Pantaleo needs to go. He needs to be in jail. He doesn't even. This just is beyond me that we are at this point. And this lieutenant, he needs to be disciplined, because anybody who's in a command position who has that kind of devaluation of Black lives has no business being on the street, has no business being in command.
John.
I'm going to sound like Bill Clinton. I feel the pain. I grew up in New York City. I grew up a mile away from Donald Trump in Queens, okay? I know him as a young man. He was a fraud then, and he's a fraud now. There is no one who is in the White House at the moment, and very few in Congress, who are going to take your cause and say, let's make it happen.
Right.
You and I, all of us, we need to have these kinds of discussions with everybody.
Yes.
Because when you put a chokehold on a young man and he says, I can't breathe, you stop, okay? But that's a moral question. And we are not, this country, I tweeted out before some unbelievable thing that Trump put up, and I wrote, Lincoln wept. JFK wept. Ike wept. MLK wept. Robert Kennedy wept. Okay? This is what we're talking about. You know, the shortest verse in the Bible is Jesus wept. This is what we need to talk about, because we have to pull together as a country and make sure that we get rid of the tyrant and make sure that Putin, I'm sorry, is literally running the show.
But it goes beyond. It goes beyond in Trump and Putin. What this really goes to on a very.
We have no country, Mark.
No. What this goes to on a small level, Johanna, is very simple.
Yep.
You have to change the contracts of police unions, because here's the problem.
Yes.
The problem is the contracts, and what they do is they literally hold a gun to the head of legislators. In San Antonio. San Antonio wanted to put in additional measures to protect citizens. The union said, oh, okay, fine. You want that? Well, then you must add pay increases in every single year. They said, wait. What the hell do I got to do with pay increase? They literally were saying, oh, we will only agree to that if you add pay increases. In cities all across the country, they fight in collective bargaining. They fight the inclusion in the union contracts to even deal with guys like this. I have said for the longest that if you're a police officer and you turn your body camera off, automatic firing.
Right.
If you turn your dash cam video, if you turn the audio off, automatic firing. If you lie on a police report, automatic firing. They don't want that, because what they know is a police officer can lie, can make it up, and they will get protected by the department, protected by district attorneys, and protected by judges.
And I think the issue is obviously lack of accountability, right? And also another greater issue outside of the gentleman who died is that, when you have people in leadership with that kind of mindset, it translates into policies, right, that will have a direct impact.
Like there's nothing wrong.
On individuals, right? So we have to be mindful of, how we pick our mayors, because the mayor oversees the police department and appoints the police chief. So all of these things.
Well, and a strong mayor form of government, a city manager form of government, city manager appoints it. But go ahead.
Okay, all of it is interconnected, right? Yeah. So we have to take control. We have to hold these folks accountable for their actions, because the comment that this officer made,
no big deal.
It's not the first. Right. I mean, it's maybe
they say worse than that.
Well, first of all, we saw what happened in Baltimore, right? Freddie Gray, where to this day you still it's sort of as Freddie just killed himself, but we know about the rough rides in the vans as well.
Yeah, it's not the first nor the last, unfortunately.
But what you have here is you have also Bill de Blasio, who did not lead as well. Okay, 4 years. How does it take 4 years for a disciplinary hearing? 4 years? Are you serious? I mean, What? We had to go find witnesses. We had to go talk to some people. But again, that's the dragging out, and hopefully people also forget about it.
And this officer should be fired for making this comment.
Well,
period.
yeah, but
This person
no, that's not.
period.
Well, first of all, okay,
And
the guy wasn't fired for choking somebody to death.
Right, he needs to be
but
fired.
then definitely with the comment. Folks, let's talk about again, I do get sick and tired of talking about him, but every 4th of July, there's this huge fireworks display here in the nation's capital. And of course, Donald Trump wants to make it all about him. He literally is ordering the moving of the fireworks show from the National Mall and to a barge or an area near where he wants to speak. He wants to speak in front of the Lincoln Memorial. Okay, so he wants to change it. And in fact, the newspapers are reporting that he is so engaged in the minutia of this. Now, y'all, look, this has been going on for years, okay? This thing is so etched in stone. They know exactly where it's going to be. They know the routes. They know where people are going to sit, the traffic route, all those different things. But now Trump wants to completely upend this entire deal because he wants to make this about a spectacle about him. Why? Because we went to the day of Bastille. What happened there? Bastille Day. He saw, oh my God, all of this pageantry, and I want one of these. So he came back in here and ordered, we're going to have a grand military parade. He literally wants, speaking of Putin, he wants what Putin does, what Russia has always done, what North Korea does. He wants the big military display. He wants to see tanks rolling down the streets. He wants to see the missile launchers rolling down. He wants to see thousands of troops. Well, when of course they showed him the cost, how much money it was going to cost, and he nixed that. But now he's trying to flip the big 4th of July celebration into his own little patriotic party. Well, Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser is not too happy. This is what she said to the Washington Post, quote, "The president can speak at any event that he wants to speak at, and my great hope would be that he recognizes that the event is a unifying event that celebrates the birthday of our nation." The problem with this, John, is this ain't about you. It's not about you. And they have a system. It is in place. Literally, they can walk in there and do this here. Okay, that's the plan. We've used it for the last 15 years. No, he now wants to change everything. And normally what happens is, for this celebration, because presidents care about the public, presidents don't attend it. Because they know when the president attends something, it totally changes security. No, he doesn't give a damn about the hundreds of thousands who come into D.C. to watch the fireworks show. No, he wants a big old party where Donald Trump is the man standing in front of Lincoln Memorial. And frankly, I think if he does that, Abe is going to get off that damn chair and give him a swift kick in his ass. Your thoughts on Mr. I want a big party for myself?
Well, as you said, if the president is included in this 4th of July festivity, there will be heightened security, which would, in essence, take away from the joy and all the fun that citizens usually.
No. It changes everything. It changes traffic patterns.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Everybody has to get now checked.
Absolutely.
It changes bags.
Absolutely.
People come in with their food and their drink, and they sit with their. It changes everything, and he is so arrogant that he can't even go, you know what? I don't want to inconvenience the American public. I'm going to keep my butt at the White House and watch it from the balcony.
Yeah, so it'll change it for the American public and other people who are interested in the 4th of July celebration. So I think that the president should definitely reconsider his position and think about the American people to see whether or not this will really impact their ability to really enjoy 4th of July.
John, the narcissist, is all about him.
It's not Red Square. This is not Nuremberg rallies, Mr. President. You are not the dictator. Soon you will find out how much you are not the dictator. And you know, Muriel Bowser, you stopped him from the last time he got these highfalutin concepts when you realized that tanks going down Pennsylvania Avenue was something you're going to have to repair as the chief executive.
It's going to destroy the streets. The streets were not built to carry tanks.
You want to do that? Go to Pyongyang or go to Red Square in Moscow.
Well, you know,
and maybe you will. Maybe Putin will invite you over. You could stay for a few
years. He is a fascist, narcissist. He thinks he is a megalomaniac. He thinks he's a demagogue. He thinks he's Mussolini. He thinks he's Right.
More like Mussolini than Hitler.
He's right.
The way he struts and pushes.
He's Mussolini. This is a Mussolini move, everybody.
You know what happened to Mussolini, though?
Right.
Okay, enough said.
He's a straight up fascist, and it's ridiculous that we have a cowardly Senate, because Congress ought to be checking him. Muriel Bowser, thank you, but that's really Congress needs to be reining this guy in.
That's where the impeachment comes in, and
Yes.
we'll see if enough
Yes.
information is given up in the next couple of weeks. Mnuchin decided he would thwart that giving up the taxes today. There's the fight over the Mueller report. Roland, you know, one after the other after the other.
Yes.
The fact is, people are calling for the impeachment. Why? Well, you're not going to win the House again, or the Senate wouldn't approve it. The fact is, that is the only way, Doctor, that the information will get out. And I believe live, TV, televised impeachment hearings work. They work. Look what happened to Nixon.
Well,
he had to resign.
They're imperative.
Yeah, but again, the bottom line is
They're
he
imperative.
wants a big ass party and he shouldn't get it. All right, for some.
I'm not going.
I'm going to. Well, I don't go anyway because I read Frederick Douglass.
It's
What would the
ridiculous.
slaves think about the 4th of July on that particular
Hey,
day?
hey.
So I celebrate Juneteenth. All right, y'all, gonna go to a break. We'll be back on Roland Martin Unfiltered in just a moment. You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it. All right, fam, I invited you to come out swinging and join me for a day of golf at the University for Parents Golf Tournament on Saturday, June 22nd in Southwest Atlanta's Wolf Creek Golf Course. It's a golf tournament with a purpose, a fundraiser for the University for Parents, a program designed to empower parent learners through education, inspiration, and support. It's all a part of Susan Taylor's National Cares Mentoring Movement. Now, when you empower the parents, you empower the children as well. Location of the tournament is 3000 Union Road, and the shotgun start time is 9 a.m. To register, go to www.u4parents.org, letter U for parents.org. For more information, be sure to call 770-316-3487, 770-316-3487. I certainly hope to see you there. All right, folks, it's time for another edition for Crazy Ass White People.
No charcoal grills are allowed.
I'm white. I got you, Carl.
Illegally selling water without a permit
On my property.
Whoa! Hey!
You don't live here.
I'm uncomfortable.
All right, y'all. A Minnesota teacher has been placed on leave after a video showing her using a racial slur while speaking to middle school students went viral. St. Paul Public School Superintendent Joe Gothard promised in a statement to take aggressive action after video was posted online of teacher Wendy Berlowski using the N-word at Highland Park Middle School. The video we found has censored her use of the word. Check it out.
In the room, and they just pick on them. Because they're black, and they're the only doing any work. I know. I'm sorry.
No. That's what you've been saying. That's what she's repeating what you're saying. But
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I don't feel sorry for Wendy. Y'all know Wendy gonna lose her job, and I keep telling y'all.
He needs to.
But I keep telling people,
Never
every time one of these crazy white folks do something, black people should line up for that job. We will end black unemployment quickly if that happens. Now let's go to, this is not a crazy ass white person. This is a straight up real sister. One thing you don't do is play with black mamas when it comes to their kids. Unfortunately, students at Nagale Hills Middle School in Orange County, California did just that. When Kristen Tinsley found out that her daughter was being bullied and sexually harassed by classmates. Let's just say her mama decided to roll to the school and she can be a charter member of hashtag Teen Whip That Ass.
That's one of my daughter. She's a girl. Y'all are boys, okay?
if y'all bully my daughter, if you look at her the wrong way, if you breathe the wrong way, send your mom to me. Sisters, aunts, anybody over 18, I'll fuck them all up. Do you understand me? Leave my daughter alone, and I'm not going to say it again. But if I have to go to every class, I'll do that. And I'm letting you know right now, any mom, any sister can catch these hands, okay? That's
Period.
how pissed I am. Y'all gonna leave her alone. I mean, no messages online, don't post nothing about her. None of that. None of that. Y'all don't know me. Y'all think y'all bullies? I'm the big bully, okay? Let that be known and understand that. Leave my daughter alone, and I mean it. And if I have to come up here again, it's gonna be problems. She's a girl, she can't handle y'all. If y'all are boys. If y'all are girls, I tell her to meet you after school and handle it outside like a real one. But since you guys are boys and she can't do anything, tell your moms, tell your sisters, tell your aunties, cousins, whoever. As long as they're over 18, we can handle it any day. You understand that? You don't pick them up. Ass whippings for free. For free. You ain't even gotta pay for it. For free. Do y'all understand me? Leave this girl alone. She's taken care of. You won't play that, okay? And I'm not gonna call out no names, but you're gonna leave her alone, and I mean it.
Ass whippings for free. That's a new hashtag. Barbara, look, I understand. This reminds me of a few years ago. I was on Dr. Phil's show. Remember the brother down, I think he was in Florida, where his daughter, they kept picking on his daughter, and it was a special needs daughter. And so my man got on the school bus, and he was like, yo,
Stop it.
you mess with my daughter again. I'm kicking all y'all. I mean, he went off. And they tried to charge him. And so I was on Dr. Phil with him. I said, yo, Doc, I'm with the daddy. The daddy was like, you mess with my daughter, you mess with me. I'm with mom said, y'all gonna catch these hands. I'm with mom. I'm with her.
It's called BMWA, Black Mama Whipping Ass. You don't mess with a black mama. You don't mess with their children. You don't do this mess. I mean, the bottom line is she put it on the line. She did not threaten the kids now. Yeah. She was very clear. And what I love is her essential...
No, she threatened the kids.
But her essential analysis is that this mess starts at the house. Because she said, send the 18-year and over folks to me. Send your aunts, your moms. Send them because she knows that's where it starts. She knows that they're coming from households where people are talking the N-word, where they're making fun of black folks, where they're denigrating our lives, and she was right to put it where it belongs.
John, this is where you walk in, and this is where you take matters in your own hand, and you send a message to the kids. In fact, if that's my kid, I'm saying point them out. Point them out. I'm telling you right now, if it's my kid, I'm going to say point them out. And then I'm going to sit there after school and I'm waiting with their little ass when their parents roll up. And I'm rolling up on parents. I'm like, you know what? The punk ass son is a bully. That's what I'm doing.
Let me tell you something. My mother did the same. My mother did the same thing.
I did too.
When I got bullied as a little kid. And if my brother wasn't around, who was 8 years older than me, who would stand there in the schoolyard and scare them all to death, my mother would go in. Not only would she go into the kids, she'd go into the teacher. And she said, you're picking on my son. He's coming home and crying. You're calling him names. She said, I will take care of you. You know what? Black mamas and white mamas unite for their children because this is the most crucial thing you have. This is what you give to the world, and this is what you want to make sure the world respects.
And but racial harassing.
Yeah, I applaud this mother for taking the approach that she took.
Of course it was.
Because as we know, bullying leads to low self-esteem and sometimes even death, right?
Yeah, so the kids out there who actually committed suicide.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Bullying is a real issue that impacts children all across this nation, all across the world every day.
Suicide.
So yes, absolutely. So I applaud the mother for taking this approach, even though I probably would have done it a bit different because I'm looking at it from a legal perspective.
Right.
You know?
Why? You a lawyer?
I'm looking from a legal perspective.
Why? You a lawyer?
Yeah. So, yeah.
Why?
Well, I mean, you have to look at the legal aspect of
What's
it.
the legal aspect? No, wait. What's the legal aspect?
The fact that she's threatening folks, you're not supposed to threaten anyone, right?
And?
It's illegal.
Arrest me.
Right.
Look, the reason I get it, look, I'm telling you, when I was in middle school, there was some kids who were on the bus and they were sitting there horsing around, and then one of the young women, so a guy, he grabbed her shirt, and then her breast got exposed. And so it was a dude who was dark skinned named Roland. So they were like, Roland did. I'm like, yo, I wasn't even sitting here back there with y'all crazy fools. So these cats wanted to fight me and my brother. So my dad came to the middle school and he got on. So he came to the middle school, got on the bus,
Sat there.
did the same thing she said. He said, let me tell all y'all something right now. Not a single one of y'all gonna touch either one of my sons.
Yeah, I just hope that.
And so then one of the dudes on the bus pulls a knife out. My dad was like, give me that goddamn knife. And so I was saying, you gonna pull a knife on me? He said, geez, I'm telling all y'all right now, one of y'all touch one of my sons, y'all dealing with me. We have no issues for the rest of junior high school and no issues in high school.
Yeah.
Because the deal is, look, you had we've had the young kid, the young boy, 10 years old in Houston, who committed suicide because of bullying.
Absolutely,
The young
yeah.
girl.
It's a
You
serious
literally have
issue.
kids who are
Yeah.
killing themselves.
No, there's no doubt
and the
about
fact
that.
The mama also said, and don't y'all say Jack online.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot.
Yes.
Because a lot of
Yes.
the difference between
All day long.
old school and today
Yeah.
is that bullying may have stopped when you left school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now they are bullying them on social media as well.
Yes.
So
All your
it is.
classmates get that same message.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Johanna, go ahead.
It is my hope that the mother does not have to resort to violence in an effort to ensure that her child is safe from bullying. I hope that the kids get the message and the person who's actually abusing her child at school gets the message in this behavior.
Oh no, they got the message. They got the message. Y'all don't want these hands.
Right, right.
Well, let's hope you don't have to.
Hey, guess what? I advise y'all get y'all kids in check. Hashtag team whip that ass. All right, y'all, a white police officer in Colorado has been placed on leave after detaining a black man for picking up trash in front of his home. Actually, but no. He was initially placed on leave. Now he is quitting the force. Y'all remember this video? Go ahead and play the video. This took place a couple months ago. The encounter began when the officer was patrolling a residential area that is considered private property and asked the man if he belonged there. Well, the man was cooperative and even gave the officer his school ID. He asked the man to sit down and put down his weapon, which was a trash clamp. Well, guess what? That officer... he is now saying, you know what? I'm good. It's time for me to go. That's called, I'm going to get fired, so let me go ahead and bounce anyway. And so that's what we have there. So, yeah, again, another job opening. Another job opening. Another job opening. But here's the problem. Don't be surprised if he's able to get a job in a neighboring city, which is also part of the problem. All right, folks, you probably heard about the children's book, Hair Love, that tells the story of a black father learning to do his daughter's hair. Now, you really need to get this book for your kids. It's a pretty funny book. Author Matthew Cherry, who's also former NFL player, who's turned movie director and author, he sat down with me, along with illustrator Vashti Harrison, to talk about the book. Check out our conversation. All right, folks, we're joined by, of course, Matthew Cherry, Vashti Harrison. First of all, Vashti, really? Black people know Vashti McKenzie, Bishop Vashti McKenzie.
You know,
all these Vashtis we know.
my mom is Trinidadian, and in Trinidad they say
got it. See,
Yeah.
they say Vashti.
exactly. They say Vashti.
Now, when they hopped across that pond, it was like you come to America like Vashti.
Exactly.
And black people draw it out. Vashti. So when y'all on the road, how often do you hear Vashti?
I hear lots of different things, but Vashti is pretty common.
Yeah, I probably call there 3 different versions myself.
So how did this book originate?
You know, I had this idea to do a animated short film, of a dad trying to figure out how to do his daughter's hair for the first time, and the hair ends up having a mind of its own.
Which is real life.
Which is real life. I remember seeing all these viral videos of dads, just like playing with their daughters, like playing with them or doing their hair. And, it was kind of like a double-edged sword because obviously it was really great that these videos were going viral. But also I was like, probably a reason why this is happening is because people aren't used to seeing it.
Right.
I think there are a lot of misconceptions and stereotypes that we're not involved in our kids' lives, let alone doing like these small, menial domestic tasks with our kids. And, I just thought it'd be a great opportunity to kind of show that we are in our kids' lives and try to, break some of these negative images that we have of ourselves.
And then you got involved. How?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So he launched the Kickstarter campaign and reached out to me to create some kind of art so that people would have an idea of what the movie was.
And you had previously done children's books?
Yeah, exactly. So I write and illustrate children's books, and I also do illustrations here and there for visual development work. And so that's what he was looking for. And I think it was during the process of the Kickstarter campaign that people had suggested and he had the idea that we should produce it as a picture book. Now, I'm not technically involved in the movie, but when the book got picked up by Kokila Books, they reached out to me to ask me if I would consider illustrating the book.
So
it didn't have to be me, but it worked out that it was.
So you did a crowdfund.
Yeah.
And how much did you raise?
We raised roughly almost $300,000. It was like 283.
And were you shocked by that?
Yeah, yeah. It was crazy, man. It was like the craziest thing I've ever been a part of.
Now, the Kickstarter was for the whole project.
The short film.
Yeah,
the short film.
Yeah,
Got
well, one of the gifts that we offered was for a picture book. We just didn't know how we were going to figure it out. And then 3 or 4 days into the campaign, Namrata, who is our kind of the editor, and she's like the head of the Kokila Books, she reached out and was like, look, I'm a big fan of this. You know, we're about to start this new division, and I just think it would be really awesome if we could help make the book with you guys. And it was just like that. We had a book deal.
Why do you think it resonated the way it did?
You know, I think it was a lot of things. You know, I think timing is really important. You know, I think at that time, you know, Into the Spider-Verse hadn't come out, and so, you know, there weren't a lot of images of black fathers and daughters or, you know, African-American characters in general, and really any animated feature films. You know, they had Princess and the Frog and the Rihanna movie Home, but at the time, that was really it. You know, maybe a couple of side characters. So, you know, my thing was just if we could do something that centers on a black family, but actually have the hair be the thing that's magical and has a mind of its own, you know, we could kind of center it on that. And, you know, since then, obviously Into the Spider-Verse has come out and all these great projects that center us. So, you know, it's really great to see. And I think the more people that see stuff like this, and especially kids, get to see themselves represented, the better.
Vashti, it is interesting when you talk about black hair, how for non-black people, it's like this thing. I mean, my godmother talked about being in China, and folks just wanted just to touch her hair. And then you can ask any number of black women this whole deal, oh my goodness, can I touch your hair? I'm like, no, you just can't touch my hair. You think about the Chris Rock documentary,
right.
was Good Hair.
I think it was Good Hair, yeah.
You think about all of these conversations, even just what just recently passed in California, where they've where the bill is going through to outlaw discrimination when it comes to hair, and it is something that is certainly different and unique to folks of African descent.
Yeah, you know, I illustrate for a living. I draw pictures. I don't have the biggest platform, but I feel like with what I do, I can help normalize these things, normalize and create beauty and, you know, infuse a little bit of magic into the everyday life. So, you know, I make books for kids and I want to encourage them to know that there's nothing wrong with the hair that comes out of your head. You can wear it however you like, and sometimes it can be magical. Because there are going to be influences from outside that are going to, you know, challenge everything that we do. But you know, if we can help them feel better about themselves from the ground up when they're that little, I think, you know, that's just one way to start.
But I also think it's accepting what is normal.
Right.
I think back to a number of years ago, Earl Graves, of course, founded Black Enterprise, caused this huge stir when he made it clear. He said, you want to intern with Black Enterprise, you can't have dreads. His whole deal was, this is the standard in corporate America. This is in terms to understand that standard. Look, when it comes to dress, when it comes to suits and ties and look, and so we're going to train you for that. We think about NBA. It was really Allen Iverson in the corner room to sort of change that. You had, of course, the brothers in the ABA with the big, huge afros, Dr. J. But again, it became this whole thing. Well, no. In order for us to, in essence, assimilate, we have to change. I think for African Americans, we can go down that road where change your hair, change your dress, change your tone, change your walk, your talk, all those things. Cam Newton going to the good Carolina Panthers, an owner saying, don't have a tattoo.
Right.
And so I think when you talk about normalizing it, it's saying, okay, that is normal. I got my wife and I raised 6 nieces. Hell, I've seen this constantly.
Right.
Matter of fact, I was with my nieces a month ago. They look just like this. I mean, it's normal, And now what is normal for us now is going out into the world, and that has to be accepted as well, that you can wear your hair natural if you're a television anchor.
Yes.
You can wear your hat if you're an athlete as well.
Yeah, I mean, remember Ricky Williams when he was like one of the first NFL players to wear dreadlocks, and people were talking about him, acting like he was Jamaican and all this other stuff. And now if you turn on
It didn't
NFL
help
game,
you love weed the
right.
amount he did. I mean, let's just be real, real honest.
True. But if you look at an NFL game now you see 20, 30 players on the field will have locks at a certain time. So, sometimes it just takes that one or two people to, really just make this not really a stand, but just be yourself and
change the image.
Yeah, and you change the image.
We tried to do that a little bit with the father character, Stephen, in that he's a young man who
I see the tattoos.
has the physique of maybe a basketball player. He could be, any kind of athlete, but we're just saying this is a dad.
Or just a brother with muscles.
This is a dad that loves his daughter, and why can't a dad look like that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, the only reason I say a brother with muscles is because it absolutely drives me crazy. Anybody who follows me on social media knows this. It drives me crazy when I'm traveling and I have my Texas A&M gear on, or if I'm wearing Houston Astros, Houston Rockets, or Houston Texans, and the first assumption is I play ball.
Right.
Then the second assumption is, was I coach?
Right.
And they go through all this sort of stuff. It's kind of like, okay, when are you going to get to the graduate part?
Right.
Like, when are you going to get around to, maybe I just simply went to school there.
Right.
So I'm a huge advocate of trying to get white folks to understand, stop this perception that if you see somebody black who you think is muscular or could play ball, don't assume that.
Right.
And say, wait a minute, because if you see a white guy, you don't automatically think, oh, he's a baller.
Right.
And again, those perceptions come in. And I think a lot of people really, as somebody, look, I've been in media since I was 14, who really don't understand the power of images. This is actually, what you're doing with movies, that's actually America's greatest export.
Right.
What we send around the world.
Right. Well, and that's the thing, like, images are so powerful, and like imagine growing up and never seeing yourself represented. You look at magazines, you look at TV shows, you look at movies, and you see people with lighter skin. You see people with this straight blonde hair, and you don't see yourself represented. You come back home and you look in the mirror, and that can make you feel less confident about yourself. And so all we're trying to do is just simply say, look, we see you, we think this is a very specific niche, but also it's universal in that, these are things that parents do for their kids when they love them. If there's something that they don't know how to do and the kid asks them how to do it, you're going to try to figure it out. You're going to go online and look up some videos. You're going to call a friend and try to figure it out. So that's really what the book is about, just showing what parents do for their kids when they don't know what to do and they're trying to figure it out.
Have you had to deal with folks who will reject your view of reality?
I've never encountered that. I wrote a book called Little Leaders, Bold Women in Black History, so it's just a book filled with the stories of black women. And I've had a few people ask me, well, why would you make a book that is only about black women? And it's not, a disacknowledgement of anything else in history. It's just saying, like, I want to see these stories placed all together. So I find that
first
people...
of all, if anybody actually understands history, they'll realize who is actually being left out.
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
Again, I think if you ask the average person to name civil rights leaders, even historical civil rights leaders, they will go...
You'll hear that
maybe they'll mention Mary McLeod Bethune. Maybe they'll mention Dorothy Height. You can forget Septima Clark. Maybe they'll mention Fannie Lou Hamer. Not Constance Baker Motley, not Ella Baker or Diane Nash, any of those names, because, frankly, it's largely been black men.
Left out of the mainstream, exactly. But so I've found that, there are a few questions here and there, but mostly people are just excited. I think we're not trying to replace any part of the story. We're just adding more to the tapestry. So in the children's, section of the bookstore,
I'm just messing with you.
In the children's part of the bookstore, there's, I saw a great book today about a white father and his daughter. And it's a beautiful, lovely story. And our book could sit right next to that. It's just another reflection of a different reality. So I find that people are very just supportive of it. And maybe it's because we're making children's content and it's just there to be good and helpful for the world. But it's a nicer place to be, and I'm happy to do it.
Well, I think what it also does, first of all, I think I think you are playing it down some. It's actually way bigger than that. Because what is happening now is, and let's just cut to the chase, America doesn't understand anything unless money is attached. And we were in a meeting with the National Association of Black Journalists. We were in a meeting with ABC News, and we meet with all these different networks about their senior leadership team, and we were meeting with them talking about the black executives or lack thereof. And at one point, I said, "Well, this is the company that made Black Panther, that made more than $1 billion." And folks sort of looked at me in the room, and I said it for a reason. Because America responds to money.
Right.
And what is happening now is you now have a generation of black folks who will readily say, I'm rejecting that. In fact, I grew up seeing the children's book and the white father and the white mother. No. Y'all got to put some other stuff up here. And it is forcing bookstores, it is forcing publishers, it's forcing networks, it's forcing them to understand that America is indeed changing. And that if you do not better reflect this changing America, another company will, and you're going to lose out.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a great thing about the company that we're with, Kokila Books. Namrata, she is just really focused. It's a division of Penguin Random House, and it just focuses specifically on, POC authors and people telling their stories. So our book came out on Tuesday. There was another book that came out called My Poppy Has a Motorcycle that speaks to, the Mexican-American experience. And, there's a book coming out later about the Filipino-American experience. And so, these are all just like really these underserved communities, and it's such a niche. And we're just so excited to be a part of this family and to be the first book that comes out under that division.
How much is the book?
Where's that?
How much is it?
How much is it? I believe at $16.99 in stores and like $10.99 if you get it on Kindle.
Yeah, they're looking like, I don't know.
No, I mean,
like, just buy the book.
I just looked at
I think it's different in different stores.
Yeah.
So we're not sure. But.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, again, folks, the book is called Hair Love.
Yes.
Matthew Cherry, illustrated by Vashti Harrison. Check it out and get it today.
Sweet.
We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for having
much.
us.
All right, fam. Shout out to First Baptist Church of Glen Arden. They recently calm down, Barbara.
That's my church.
Okay, all right. You tithe?
All right.
Oh, her ass got real. Y'all saw how quiet she got?
No.
I hit her with, do you tithe? Yeah. Okay, you do?
Yes, of course I do.
Okay, let me text.
I'm a church member.
Yeah. Let me text Pastor Jenkins.
Do.
Oh no.
Let me text.
He knows me.
Yes. Let me
He
text.
knows me.
Let me text Pastor Jenkins, who is the senior pastor.
Right.
We find out if you actually tithe or you give offerings.
No.
Anyway, y'all. The First Baptist Church of Glen Arden in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, they gave out 4 cars, and so this one woman, Marilyn Lacey, boy, she was happy.
It's beautiful. Beautiful.
Where in the hell's the video? What, really, Jackie? Let me explain something. No, let me explain something to y'all. We sat in the office before the show, 3 hours before the show, and Jackie was begging me to include this in the show, like begging me to include this in the show. And she was like, it's a 4-minute. I said, we are not going to play the whole 4-minute video. We're going to play 45 seconds, okay? Oh, they were all excited. We'll play 45 seconds. Now, I actually do the story. I actually go ahead and do the story, and the damn video not even ready. I literally had to stretch longer than what the video is. Now, what I don't understand is how it was in the show. And in fact, we normally end at 7. It's 7:08, and so you now talking about extra time, and the video wasn't ready.
So where's the video?
It ain't there. It's too bad. It's beautiful.
Well, roll it!
Marilyn Lacey.
I think Maryland ran track in college because the original video was 4 minutes. Y'all, you can run a mile in 4 minutes.
It's the Holy
and
Spirit.
So, huh?
We do
The
it
Holy
First
Spirit.
Baptist.
Yeah, that's how you. Barbara, you know doggone well you ain't never ran around the church. Barbara, stop it. Barbara, stop. Barbara, stop.
That's what we do it.
Barbara, don't be trying to say that's what we do. No, that's what she do. Don't be trying to say that's what
You're
we
not
do.
the only
Barbara,
one.
you know you ain't ran around church. Y'all can't stand black people do that.
I done run up.
Don't y'all can't stand black people do that. Somebody else does something, but that's what we do. No, that's what she do. They ain't what you do. Anyway.
I up and down some steps.
Yeah, okay, all right. Yeah, okay, all right, yeah.
Stop it, it's the
Yeah,
Holy
we gonna check your iWatch to see how many rings you got. All right, final comment. Anything this week, what we want to talk about? We'll start with John.
Pray for our country.
All right, that was quick. All right, Barbara.
Definitely read the Vera Institute report on women in incarceration in jails.
LeBlanc, what you got?
The fact of the matter is, our nation is being faced with some challenges, economic, politically, and socially. So we have to rally ourselves and get educated on the various issues and act accordingly. Don't make decisions based on ignorance. Make decisions based on what you've learned and get the facts straight. So.
All right, folks. Well, we appreciate that. Thank you so very much for joining me. Don't forget to support Roland Martin Unfiltered by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, join our Bring the Funk fan club, and we're gonna roll our credits. But also, don't forget that if you don't see your name, let us know. So beginning on because we're emailing everybody the promo code where you have a discount. And so on Monday, actually next week, I'll tell you about some products we'll have on sale where you can utilize your discount to actually get that. And also after this, so again, join the fan club. Only way you get the discount if you become a member of the fan club. You can use Cash App, PayPal, or even Square. Now, after this show, we're going to end this live stream. I'm going to actually play for you my commencement speech earlier to the graduates of Bowie State. And so trust me, you're going to enjoy that. Y'all know I don't do regular commencement speeches. I'm an irregular commencement speaker. And so this was the 17th commencement I've given, 15 of those at HBCUs. And so I definitely think you're going to enjoy it. The graduates definitely enjoyed it. Many of them told me that when I shook their hands. They crossed the stage with getting their degrees. And so we're going to stream that for you right after. Shout out to Dr. Bro, of course, who is she brought commencement back to the campus for the last 6 years. It was held on the campus of University of Maryland. The alumni, they really wanted to have graduation back on their campus. So for the first time this year in 6 years, graduation at Bowie State was held on the Bowie State campus. Of course, it's the oldest HBCU in the state of Maryland. So, all right, folks, I got to go. I will see you guys Monday from Palm Desert, California, site of Anthony Anderson's third annual Celebrity Golf Classic. And so we'll have sights and sounds from there as well. So you be sure to have a great weekend. Holla! You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Hey fam, want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? The blackest show on all of digital, cable, and broadcast. Check out our audio podcast. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Press play.
It is now my honor, my privilege to introduce the keynote speaker, our commencement speaker for today, Mr. Roland Martin. I think some of you already got to know him on the way in, as he was greeting our graduates as they were processing into the stadium. I think we're in for a real treat today. Ladies and gentlemen, we are very privileged today to be able to hear from Mr. Roland Martin, host and managing editor of #RolandMartinUnfiltered, acclaimed journalist, influencers from multiple U.S. presidents to the top athletes and entertainers in Hollywood. He is currently the host and managing editor of the hashtag Roland Martin Unfiltered,
I'm here, Doc.
the first daily online show in history focused on news and analysis of politics, entertainment and sports, and culture from an explicitly African-American perspective. Since 2008, he has been a senior analyst for the Tom Joyner Morning Show, where his daily segment is heard on more than 100 stations, reaching 8 million people daily. Mr. Martin spent 6 years as a CNN contributor, appearing on numerous shows, earning accolades near and far for his no-holds-barred honesty, conviction, and perspective on various issues. In 2009, CNN awarded the Peabody Award for its outstanding 2008 election coverage, of which Mr. Martin was a member of the best political team on television. He is the author of 3 books, including the first, President Barack Obama's Road to the White House, as originally reported by Roland S. Martin. And he has contributed to several other books. He is a 4-time NAACP Image Award winner, including being named Best Host for the last 2 years. He has been named 4 times by Ebony magazine as one of the 150 most influential African Americans and has been named several times to the Root 100, its annual list of influential African Americans. When Jet magazine readers voted in 2012 for Who is King of the Hill, in terms of who they turned to on issues of African American concerns, Mr. Martin came out on top. He has always been named the country's #1 black pundit by News1.com and one of the top 50 political pundits by the Daily Telegraph in the United Kingdom. In his career, Mr. Martin has been showered with more than 30 awards for journalistic excellence, including being named the Journalist of the Year 2013 by the National Association of Black Journalists, NABJ, for his extensive focus on voter suppression and other issues of concern to African Americans during the 2012 elections. He was also awarded the NABJ President's Award for his work in multimedia platforms and was inducted into the Texas A&M University Journalism Hall of Honor. Martin is a life member of NABJ and Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity, Inc.
Oh, 6!
I paused for a minute for a reason. He is a proud graduate of Texas A&M, where he earned a Bachelor's of Science degree in journalism. He has been awarded honorary degree from Florida Memorial University, University of Maryland University College, Lemoyne Owen College, Lane College, and South Carolina State University. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Roland Martin.
All right, how we doing? We good? All right, glad to see y'all here, especially all y'all late people. Especially some of the graduates. 2 sisters walking up. I'm like, y'all can't walk behind us. She said, can we skip? No, you're late. You got to wait. It is good to see all of you here. It's glad to be here, glad to be back on this campus. Doc, thank you so very much for inviting me. It's always great. This is the 17th commencement I've done, 15th at an HBCU, and it's always a pleasure to do so. But this is not a funeral. I'm trying to understand. Look, folks being quiet, taking it easy. I appreciate all this sort of stuff. The band over there falling asleep. I had to wake a couple of them up. So I know y'all don't have a full band, but I didn't come to HBCU to hear some symphonic music. So So before I speak, I need y'all to play something to wake this crowd up. Because this is a damn graduation. This is a celebration. This is not a funeral. It's not a wake. This ain't the repast. So I need y'all at least 90 seconds. Come on, because y'all over there asleep. Hey, y'all graduated. Y'all can go ahead and turn it out. Oh, not a band to wait. Special guests, y'all can stand up too, class of 69. I mean, y'all can get up now. I see y'all, come on. It's y'all graduation too. Hey, faculty, I need y'all to get the hell up too. Y'all too calm. All y'all family, y'all paid to get here. Y'all need to be standing up too. Now it's time to start a black graduation. Because if y'all continued, I was going to take my phone to the doggone DJ and like, you got to put on Before I Let Go or something. So now y'all got graduation back on campus. Again, I was in a symphonic band. That's cute, but that's fine. But next time I had a choir come out here and sing a doggone black gospel song. They let y'all off the hook only singing one verse and lift every voice and sing. Now brother can talk. But before I do this here, we are at a, let me pull this up. We are at a black school. Let me find this here. Is Aaliyah McCants here? She graduating. Aaliyah McCants. Aaliyah McCants, you graduating. Stand up. Stand up, Aaliyah McCants. Is Aaliyah here? Aaliyah, is that her? She standing up? All right, Aaliyah. Your aunt, Taylor Thomas, said she had to work. She couldn't be here. So she sent me a text. She said, you graduate with a degree in social work with honors. Y'all know black people will ask for a shout out. So tell your aunt, she like, my niece graduated. All right, fine, I'll shout your niece out. So anybody else got my cell phone, don't be texting me. That's the last shout out we're gonna do for the rest of the day. Last one, the class 69, congratulations. My advice next time, don't have an Omega up here talking trash to me before I talk. Because I'm gonna call that little youth group out. See, I told you I was gonna talk about you. I was gonna talk about you. Again, glad to see all of you here. It is a great day. This tassel's getting on my nerves, so we're gonna just stop that right now. Can you keep up? You trying to figure out, I don't know how we invited this crazy black man. He lost his mind. I don't know what he doing. He need to go ahead and hurry with this doggone speech so we can hand his degrees out. You keeping up. All right, just checking. All right, let's get this thing started. Anytime you are speaking in front of this many black people, you have to tag your text. Now, the person next to you has no idea what tag your text means. That must mean they're one of these new generation Negroes who don't go to church. So hit them on the elbow and say, tag your text means, this is the title of what he's about to talk about. So just in case a lot of y'all forget this day, and trust me, I have no idea who spoke at my graduation. I don't know who the person was, what they said, but I guarantee you, y'all ain't gonna forget me. title of this is called, It's Your Time Now. So turn to the person to your left and say, it's your time now. All right, turn to your right, the other right. All right, turn to the person behind you and say, and point to them, it's your time now. Now I want you to talk to yourself, say it, me, it's your time now. A few weeks ago, I called Bernard Shaw, who is the anchor emeritus for CNN. And I wanted to get Bernard Shaw's permission to post a video or some remarks that he made in 2007 when he received the Lifetime Achievement Award from the National Association of Black Journalists. And I wanted him to do that because I'm on the board of directors for the third time of the National Association of Black Journalists, and we called out CNN for having no black executive producers, no black vice presidents, no black senior vice presidents, no black executive vice presidents, no black direct reports to their CEO, Jeff Zucker. And he made some remarks where he checked white men by saying, your time is almost up, when he accepted his speech. And when I called him, Bernard said, Roland, every generation of black people, every generation has had to fight for what was right and to create change. It's your time now. If you think about all the folks who made this day possible, if you think about the folks who created this institution, the folks who have come through here, it was all done for this day. It was all done for May 17, 2019, the 65th anniversary of Brown versus Board of Education. It was all done to ensure that when you look at this class of African Americans, but also you have folks of Middle Eastern descent, folks here who are white, Latino, or who are Asian, it was all about ensuring that you had a shot at a future that they did not have. In fact, there are some people who are in the stands today who are here to celebrate you, who wish there was a day when they could have sat on a field in a cap and gown and be able to move the tassel, but because of circumstances and finances, they were unable to do so. But they said, but one thing is clear, you will walk across that stage, you will get that degree, no matter what it costs. And I say that because there are a whole lot of us who somehow think that we got here all by ourselves, when in reality there were folks who we don't even know, who go back multiple generations, who were doing what was necessary to ensure this day would be possible. Which means that every single one of us, no matter what our background is, no matter where we're from, we owe it to the next generation and the following generation and the following generation to ensure that 30 and 40, 50 years from now, you're able to come back and celebrate your 50th graduation, and the institution is still here, still thriving, still educating, which means you cannot walk off this campus today for the last time and say Bowie State, because you owe this university, you owe this state something more than just lip service. The next time, folks here should not see you at homecoming celebrating football, but not cutting a check to pay for academics. Because when we look at across this country, when we see HBCUs, the average giving of alumni is 5%. That is an abomination, because when you had freed slaves who put pennies and nickels together to ensure this day will come, I dare say this generation deserves to give them more than that. And it's our job to ensure that this institution remains strong, which also means I fully expect every single graduate of this class to tell Governor Larry Hogan, Maryland and the state of Maryland that a $100 million settlement for what this state has done to HBCUs is grossly unacceptable. It is wrong. And what they owe HBCUs in this state, far more than that. And I say not 100 million, but I say at least 1 billion for what has been done. And this school should not be spending precious resources on lawyers fighting for equity and funding. It is wrong, and it's time for Maryland, a blue state, to do right by its HBCUs. See, it's your time now to step up and assume your rightful place in leadership. Because what you do today affects what happens 24 years from now when America becomes a nation that is majority people of color. And the reason you are seeing what is happening in this country now with all these crazy folks with their red hats is because they are afraid of the future. In fact, they don't want to see a class that looks like this, where you have folks who are black and who are white and who are Muslim and who are Latino and who are Asian coming together because there is fear of people of color taking leadership. 24 years from now, you will be in your mid-40s, and you will be in corporations, you will be in academia, and you will be in all these positions, and you will be the ones who will be in charge. And it's important for you to understand that you have been positioned at the right time in history for this moment. You are graduating in 2019, the year of return. It was 400 years ago when 20-odd Africans arrived in Virginia in 1619. And over this period, what we saw was 243 years of slavery. We saw the battle for the 13th and 14th and 15th Amendment, the Reconstruction Amendments. We saw, of course, the Great Compromise of 1877, which then ushered in Jim Crow, 92 years of slavery without shackles. The reality is, when you look at Emmett Till being killed August 28th, the almost called Montgomery bus boycott beginning December 1st, 1955, you begin to see what took place over the course of 13 years where Jim Crow was brought to his knees. It was because there were young people, there were HBCU students who left college campuses who were willing to put their lives on the line to ensure that was freedom for their children's children. Many of them never saw the day. Many of them went to jails in Mississippi and Alabama. Some of them were beaten to a pulp. There was one story of one sister who was thrown into a prison with men, and she was savagely beaten, and when they took her out, her face was swollen, she was bleeding, and the only thing she could utter was one word: freedom. That generation understood that it was their time. That generation understood that their mothers and fathers and grandfathers had done all they can, and they understood that they could not stand pat and allow America to be the same country it was then. They understood that they had to step up and not make it about themselves. This is not about a new pair of Louboutins. It's not about what car you drive, a house you have. It's about whether or not you create a different world for your children's children. So what you do from this day forward is about lineage. It's about history. You can change your bloodlines based upon what you're about to do walking across this stage with that degree, which means that your children's children will think back and reflect, thank God I had a grandmother and a grandfather who had the audacity to think big and was willing to fight for what's right. See, I know some of you are sitting here and you're saying, well, that's great, but I don't really think I'm going to deal with all of that. Well, I can show you a whole line of people who thought that they were not going to have to be fighting battles in 2019 that folks were fighting in 1969 and fighting in 1959. But the reality is, you can't show me the history of black folks in America where fight did not precede anything that we had to do. It was Frederick Douglass who said, power concedes nothing without a demand, never has and never will, which means that we came out the womb fighting. We're going to be fighting while we're here, and we're going to be fighting when we go to our graves, because that is our story. And see, I ain't got a problem with that, because see, some folk don't want to fight some people. And so you got to make a decision right now whether you're going to be one of those folks who will stand pat and allow others to fight the battles for you, or whether you're going to get in this game and say, no, it's now my time to fight this thing. And I know there's somebody saying right now, well, yeah, but Roland, but everybody in the graduating class, they not black. But see, if you go to Montgomery and you go down the highway, there's a memorial to Viola Liuzzo, white woman from Michigan who left Michigan to help register black folks in Selma. When they had the Selma to Montgomery march, and then when it was over, she was driving back to Selma from Montgomery. 3 Klansmen drove up beside her in the truck, fired a shotgun, blew her head off, and they thought they killed the brother who was sitting next to her. And I had a chance to meet him, and I was in Selma this year, who lived to tell the story. That was a white woman in Michigan who did not have to go to Selma to register a single black person, but she said, if we want to make this nation a more perfect union, I cannot be a comfortable white woman in Michigan. I got to be able to put something in the game. You look at the HBCUs all across this state and all across this country, you are seeing an increasing number of students who are Muslim coming from other countries being educated at Bowie State and Morgan State and Texas Southern University. And when you see a nation that attacks individuals because of their faith, knowing full well that the folks in this nation who have done more harm in the past decade have been white, male, domestic terrorists who call themselves Christian, you cannot stand silently by, because that was a time when they denigrated black folks and called us terrorists. So don't you dare allow somebody to label all Muslims terrorists. You must be willing to stand up and fight for the very folks who are also willing to fight for you. It is your time now. Even though it's 2019, even though we have the appearance of equality, even though you have a sister who is the president of your university, you cannot be silent, men, when black women and other women are getting paid far less than other men and white men. You cannot stand silent when we see injustice. We can't stand silent when we see men disrespecting women in the workplace. It is your time now to say we will break generational curses and not be like those who came before us. The challenge for every generation is to say, how are we going to be a difference maker when it comes to the next generation and the next generation to ensure there is going to be change, which means you must accept the mantle of responsibility to be a change agent. See, I understood it wasn't going to be popular when I chose to go after folks in media who refused to hire black folks in management. But I said I was not going to wait till I was 70 and 80 and accept the Lifetime Achievement Award or write it in a book to talk about what I went through. I said, no, when we are in the middle of the battle, I'm going to call some folks out. You know what? I understand there are some people in media, and they made it clear, no, we're not going to put him on our network because, see, he's one of those. And, yeah, you're right. I'm one of those. Because, see, I called out CNN while I was working there. I call them out when I'm not working there, because I cannot stand silently by as somebody who went to a school of communications when I was in high school, chose to do this at the age of 14, knowing full well that if I don't use the power of my voice today at the age of 50, then I'm going to make it easy for somebody coming behind me who to be an executive producer or a VP or an EP or a CEO, because the day of white men running America is over. It is your time now to use your power and your voice to change this country for the better. The only way we've been able to change anything in America is when we have been able to look folks in the eye and say, we are willing to stand up to you, to fight. And then if you think we're going to run away, no, we're going to go take a break, take a rest, and come back and get on this front line. And I know some of y'all are saying, but I got to focus, really on my job. I got to focus because I got this degree. Well, you know what? The mother of Carolyn Hunter said the exact same thing in 1970. Carolyn Hunter was a 26-year-old sister, graduated, chemistry degree. She went to work for Polaroid. And while working for Polaroid, there was a guy named Ken Williams who walked into the lobby of Polaroid one day, and he saw these things called pass books in the lobby. And he looked at it and he said, wait a minute, we're selling those things in South Africa. As he began to investigate, if you were black South African, you had to walk around with your papers. And it was a pass book that Polaroid created. Ken Williams began to say, well, no, I can't work at a company that is supporting the apartheid regime in South Africa. And then Ken began to protest, and Carolyn Hunter, who worked there, she then began joining him, and the Polaroid Revolutionary Workers was created. I see some of y'all looking at me right now saying, I ain't never heard of Ken Williams or Carolyn Hunter or the Polaroid Revolutionary Workers, but you have heard of the divestment movement that took place in apartheid. That did not start in the 1980s. It did not start on the campus of Harvard. It did not start with Fortune 500 companies. It started at Polaroid when two black folks said Polaroid should not be used selling these passbooks to the racist regime in South Africa, and they put it on the line. Were fired from Polaroid, were ostracized. The reason the Congressional Black Caucus stood up over the issue of apartheid because it was Ken Williams and Carolyn Hunter who met with them in D.C. When Nelson Mandela died, I interviewed Ron Dellums, the late Ron Dellums. He told me the story. They were not even aware of that. And the divestment of movement of apartheid started because Ken Williams and Carolyn Hunter chose to lead a revolution that took place over a period of 20 years. And that's how the divestment movement in South Africa took place. And that's how apartheid was brought to its knees because a 26-year-old recent college graduate, her mama told her, baby, you just graduated. You got you a good job. You need to stay quiet and keep working. And she said, Mama, I can't work at a company that's oppressing my people around the globe. And she put that thing on the line. And the reason I even heard about the story was when I was on Martha's Vineyard, had a book signing, and I was actually staying at somebody's house there. And then it was a few months later, I'm in New York at 2 o'clock in the morning watching a documentary, and I'm looking at it going, is that the black woman's house I was staying at on Martha's Vineyard? Text her daughter, and she says, yes, that is my mama, because I knew her as Carolyn Williams, but she was Carolyn Hunter, because what I didn't realize, she later married Ken Williams and became Carolyn Williams, but it was a 26-year-old sister who put it on the line. It was Dr. King, who was 26 years old when they began the Montgomery Improvement Association and the boycotts. When you talk about John Lewis and Marion Barry, when you talk about all of those individuals, when you talk about Diane Nash, when you talk about the folks who put it online, they were 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 25. They could have easily graduated. They could have easily sat still, could have easily gotten them some nice, good jobs and focused on making some money. But they said, no, we have to do something to change America. And I say to the class of 2019, you must accept the same challenge and decide what is going to be your fight in 2019. Who are you going to challenge? Who are you going to confront? Who are you going to say enough is enough? And I say you must be willing to fight and put it on the line, because it will not be easy. It will not be simple. It will not be something that folks will take lightly. You must look folks in the eye and say, do understand, I went to Bowie State. I struggled. I fought through. You are facing somebody who is used to fight, who is used to struggle. And if you think I'm going to give up, you got another thing coming. And if then they look at you and say, well, then we going to fight you harder. You say, you can fight me as hard as you want to, but I'm not going away. I will not look down, because it's my time now. And like my frat brother Vertner Woodson Tandy said, we will fight until hell freezes over, and then we will fight on the ice.
Wow. That was amazing. And thank you, Mr. Martin, for that impactful, inspiring speech to our graduating class of 2019. Did you hear that? 2019. I know they heard you. And remember, we are the Bulldogs. And Bulldogs, they know how to get it done. And they heard you loud and clear. Thank you for that charge. Thank you for those inspiring remarks. You have your message, graduating class. Take it with you on your journey ahead. Remember this commencement speaker. I have no doubt you're going to remember this commencement speaker. Please give Mr. Martin another round of applause. On behalf of Bowie State University, we have a small token of our appreciation for our commencement speaker, Mr. Roland Martin, for being here today, for inspiring the 2019 graduating class. Mr. Martin, if you would please join me at the podium. From our 2019 graduating class and all of Bowie State University, we bestow upon you this plaque in memory of this day. Please keep coming back. Welcome back to campus, and we look forward to seeing you a lot more. We want to see you out at homecomings, and whenever you so choose, you are always welcome at BSU. BSU? BSU!
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it. Hey fam, want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered, the blackest show on all of digital, cable, and broadcast. Check out our audio podcast. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Press play. Hey fam, want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered, the blackest show on all of digital, cable, and broadcast. Check out our audio podcast. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Press play. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.